Hey, good morning. Good morning. Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. Whew, wow, what a weekend of football. Did you all see those championship games? Man, I was kind of pulling for our man Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens, and they just couldn't get it. And I feel bad for the young man that fumbled the ball as he was going into the to score the touchdown. Wow, what a heartbreaker right there. But it is what it is. Kansas City Chiefs going to the Super Bowl to face the San Francisco 49ers. What a ginormous victory for San Francisco. They were down. It was looking kind of bad at halftime. It was 17-7. It's like, oh, this one is over. But they came out gangbusters and won the game. Man, what a great thing for San Francisco. And what a great thing for Kansas City. Now all eyes are turned to Las Vegas a week after next. They're going to Las Vegas for the Super Bowl. And man, I wish I could be up there, but my pocketbook ain't that strong, so I won't be in Vegas to celebrate. But it's so interesting to watch the phenomenon of football. In America, it's a big deal. And as you know, that here at Coffee Conversations, where we have casual but compelling conversations from a decidedly global perspective, we are enthralled in the United States with our football, right? But when you go over to the continent of Africa, football is soccer. Okay, it's so funny. I remember I went to South Africa one time. Man, it was during the March Madness, and I went down to the bar at the hotel to ask the brothers to, turn it to the March Madness, and the brothers looked at me like I was crazy, and I said, "Well, man, what's up? Y'all don't watch basketball? Y'all don't watch football? What do you do?" And they all looked at me and said, "Soccer." And in all of my travels, I see how huge the game of soccer, or football, as they say, is. And so, just as we are enthralled with our NFL playoffs and the Super Bowl and all of the hoopla that's going on right now, over there in Africa, our brothers and sisters are enthralled with the Africa Cup of Nations. It's a big deal. Africa Cup, AFCON. All the nations send their national teams into a big tournament, and it's a big deal, right? Trust me on that. Big. So all the way from Accra, Ghana, to help us gain an understanding of that, I reached out to he's a sports journalist, radio and TV, and just an all-around good guy. He's over there in Accra, Ghana. We'll bring him in first here. Thank you so much, Brother Edward Aikins. Well,
thank
there
you.
you are,
Thank
Edward.
you. Thank you very much, Greg. Thanks for having me.
Yes,
and good to see
sir.
you.
How are you?
Yes, I'm doing great. Just about to have a cup of coffee with you.
Yes, as you should. I have mine. What time is it where you are now?
7:11 p.m.
Yes, see,
But
wow.
yeah, uh,
Interesting. Well, we were talking in the ready room there, and I was asking you, do you follow American football much? And you said,
not not so much, not so much. But once it has football in it, why not? There's one ball that everyone is following, and I think it will be quite easy to comprehend since it's football. So yeah, I don't follow it much, but hey, I would love to get to know more about it and follow it more because it
yes,
has football in there.
we're gonna make that happen right now. Let's see if we can get our other guest in. I think he might be ready. Let me see. Rodney Knox, how are you, sir?
I'm good. Hopefully you guys can hear me.
Yes, touchdown.
Good to have you, Rodney.
Yeah, good to see you also, Edward. How you doing?
Yes,
Doing
yes.
well,
Oh
Rodney.
man, I am so honored here to have both of you on. I know, Edward, we met when I was on my last trip to Ghana, West Africa, and I learned a lot about. At that time, the World Cup was going on, and you put me up on what was happening in the World Cup and everything, and I was able to see for myself, the fervor that fans have for the sport of soccer or football, as we say. And Rodney, we grew up together, and listen, since we were children, Rodney always had, the football in his hand or baseball mitt or something like that, and gone on to, he was marketing executive at the San Francisco 49ers. I was thinking about you, Rodney. I said, I was going to call you, but I said, no, he's probably into this game right here. What is it like in the offices when you win the, get to the level where the 49ers are now? You've been there.
Well, thanks, Greg. I appreciate that.
What is that like?
I was blessed enough to be there 4 times, as a matter of fact, through my 20 years that I was with the Niners. And it's amazing. It's adrenaline like you can't believe. I was at the game yesterday, actually helping my predecessor in my former job and the director of comms and marketing there. So it was thrilling to be there, but I was more thrilled for those folks that are going through it for the first time than someone like me who's been through it. But it's exciting. It's what you strive to get to. Again, there's a lot of blood, sweat, and tears and hard work that goes into that accomplishment. And I mean that at every level, every position within the team. Our former head coach, Bill Walsh, used to always talk about the fact that the person that is in the cafeteria, maybe preparing the food, is just as important as the starting quarterback. It takes that type of overall team unity and commitment in order to reach that goal. So now the Niners are back in the Super Bowl. It's a beautiful thing, and hopefully they can complete the task.
Nice. I'll ask you the same thing I was asking Edward, and I already know the answer, but share with us, what do you know about soccer?
I know that in most places it's called football, right? Yeah. F-U-T-B-O-L, and it's a soccer, is a U.S. kind of translation of the game. So I enjoy the game a lot. I have a son that played collegiately here and kind of watched his development and tried to coach him a little bit early on. Love the game. I do think, unlike American football, it's more suited for multiple body types. American football, you got to be a pretty big guy for the most part if you're going to play. But football is really a game that's suited for that, and it takes so much athletic ability. And then obviously with the training and the skill sets that you learn from the dribbling or the defending, whatever area of the pitch you're going to be a part of. I love the game. I enjoy watching it.
Rodney, what we're doing here is bringing the contrast together. I'm trying to get you over to the continent with me here.
Yes, you have.
Yes. Well, Edward is coming in live from Accra, Ghana, as a guy who I met and found out that he was a journalist, sports journalist covering football in Ghana. And definitely an expert and has a deep passion for the sport. And I've shared the story with you also, how I found out that, football is what the brothers and sisters watch over there. They really don't care about us. It's really funny. But just as we are enthralled with the playoffs that have been happening as a nation, now the Super Bowl has got everybody's imagination. Our brothers and sisters over on the continent are enjoying the Africa Cup of Nations. And I'd like to, Edward, just tell us a little bit, first of all, what is that? And then tell us who is the favorite going into, I guess you're getting ready to be the final 16. Who's the favorite?
Yeah, so the Africa Cup of Nations is the flagship tournament of the Confederation of African Football. It was started in 1957. It's in its 34th edition. It actually started with only three teams in 1957. It's grown and gone through the phases. In 2016, it was actually there was a proposal from the then president Ahmad. That's in 2019 to try and expand it and to cover 24 teams and also to host it during the summer instead of hosting it in January, like we're doing now. And so those two proposals were actually approved in 2019, and so the tournament was expanded from 16 teams to 24 teams. So it gave a lot of opportunity for other countries to try and pitch their strength against the more established teams on the continent. As it stands now, the defending champion is Senegal. So they won the last edition in 2021. They defeated Egypt in the final, albeit the most successful team in the history of the Africa Cup of Nations is Egypt with 7 titles. And so it's really, it's not just a tournament; it is a celebration. And it's great to see how that display of culture, especially on the during the opening and closing ceremonies, and even in and amongst the fans, you see different ways by which the fans, cheer their teams on. You find out that there's a way by which Ghana cheers its team on. There's a way by which Nigeria does it. There's a different way by which Zambia or South Africa will do it. But then the fans also bring that sort of feeling. They bring that sort of celebratory feeling to the tournament, and they are a key part of the AFCON. They are ever present in the AFCON, and they bring a lot of color. They bring a lot of life to the tournament. So it's not just a football tournament. It's a celebration of culture and football on the African tournament. If you ask me who I think would win the tournament, I think Senegal is looking pretty much very good. Defending champion Senegal are looking quite good to retain their title because they have quite a number. They have a good blend of experience and youth, and they have their fans on their back, and they are really playing some good football. So that's it.
Now, you mentioned that, the nations, the fans have different ways that they cheer their teams on. So it's like when I watch Bafana Bafana in South Africa, the fans are like blowing
the
yes.
That's the vuvuzela.
Is that special to them?
That's very special to them. And the vuvuzela came to light during the World Cup in 2010. That was actually held in South Africa, and so the vuvuzela is a South African thing. It's a South African instrument that produces a train-like sound, and it's very, very unique to the South Africans. If you come to Ghana, we do not use the vuvuzela. We do a lot of drumming at the stadium, drumming and singing, and using all types of local instruments to produce sound and produce a melody that the players on the pitch would actually be spurred on by. If you go to another country, so recently I was watching one of the matches, and I think the fans took out their phones and turned on their torches. All of them turned on their torches, yes, on their phones, and it created a beautiful scenery. Yes, so there are different ways by which different people celebrate football during the tournament.
Nice. Rodney, I was listening to the 49ers crowd. It was just mayhem going on in there. How loud was it?
Yeah, you know what? It was interesting because a couple of our players after the game said that they were also moved by how loud the crowd was. They had never heard Levi Stadium that loud before. One of them even mentioned he was wondering if we were piping in sound, as some stadiums do, and particularly the indoor stadiums, just to make the sound that much crazy loud. But it's an outdoor stadium, so no roof, so it's hard to keep sound in when you don't have that enclosed feeling. But yeah, it was very loud, very happy, and we had been to the championship game, NFC championship game, 3 of the last 4 years and hadn't been able to cross over. So this was, there was a lot of built up frustration and excitement in those fans yesterday too. So it was good. But it's interesting to hear what Edward was talking about in terms of just sound, particularly during the games. That's one of the things I love about soccer. Here in the U.S., many of the games that I go to, the same thing with the drums, that just constant move and drive. I think you even use the word melody. I love that because when you think about it, there's a flow to the game, and they're flowing to that melody.
Interesting. Now let's talk about celebrities here. I just got to tell y'all, okay, I know Taylor Swift is a worldwide star and all this here, but every time the doggone Kansas City Chiefs make a play, they show her up in the box. It's getting on my nerves. I've tweeted about it. I've spoken about it across my platforms. I know a lot of people in America feel that way. Edward, let me ask you, do you all have like celebrities that come to the football games and they capture the attention of the fans who are there for the match?
Yeah. So it's like I said, it's a celebration, and it's an end-to-end celebration. And because soccer is like a staple in Africa, everyone does follow it, from celebrities to the ordinary person on the streets. And what is normally done, and what was done for this tournament as well, is to bring together celebrities in the music space to do a theme song for the tournament. Nice. And so that was done this year, and you had a group from the Ivory Coast known as the Magic System, together with other stars picked from other countries, come together to do a beautiful tune as the theme song for the tournament. So that's how we try to blend the celebrities. We try to get them to be involved in soccer here in Africa. The football legends, yes, obviously, are constantly at the stadium watching their teams play, and really they're held in high regard by both fans and sets of players. So football in itself is entertaining. So there's a close bond between football and entertainment, and so celebrities find themselves, enjoying football and being part of it in different ways. Yeah, so that's how it is in Africa.
Hey, Greg, I think Edward's going to have to send us a link so we could hear that song. I want to hear that.
I will. You would love it.
I'm sure we would. Yeah, I definitely want to hear it. Maybe
Greg, you should
the locker room.
Greg, you should have it.
Okay. Yes. If you just sit there, maybe I can play it before we can go. If you can do it. Okay. Rodney, talk about that though, the celebrity connection and everything to, our sports. Of course, there is that integration, right, of music Absolutely. And star power with our professional sports.
Yes. Yeah.
Aren't you tired of Taylor Swift though?
Well, here's the thing. A couple of things I'd say on that. Yeah, the confluence of sport and entertainment is such that many of the professional leagues here in the States say that they are in the entertainment business, of which their sport happens to be just one of the segments of their overall entertainment package. So I've heard that many times from sporting organizations. So that's the case. I'm interested when I first saw all the reporting about Taylor. I, like you, Greg, was like, okay, the focus should be on the game, not on the celebrity. The reality, though, is that it brings a lot more eyes to the game and attention to the game from folk that aren't necessarily football fans, but they are Taylor Swift fans. I've seen a couple of national news stories where they have dads that are now watching football games with their daughters because they're more interested in the game now because of the Taylor Swift connection. So that actually helps. If you can get more people exposed to the game, that's a positive. And particularly if they're doing it like in a family situation where they're bonding, that's beautiful. The other thing I'd say just real quickly is that in as much as, they've probably overdone it with Taylor. Just think about at NBA games on television. Most often they will show you courtside who the celebrities were, particularly when the Lakers were on their run. And even today in Hollywood, Greg, you're there. You know how that is. Celebrities at courtside drive the interest of the game. So it's just it's unusual that they're seen so much on television during football games. But the whole celebrity to sport connection is absolutely there. And I think that really is a positive for both sides of the coin.
Yeah, that's very true, Greg. Just to add, even in Ghana, in terms of trying to drive traffic to the stadiums or the stadia, celebrities are a key component. Celebrities are constantly contacted to either perform in the stadia, just say something about the matches, do some promotions for the matches as well, because like Rodney said, there's that confluence between football and entertainment. Now, soccer is seen as a component of entertainment in Africa. So celebrities are a key cog in that wheel, and they're used very much here in Ghana and in Africa to try and drive the traffic. Because if you have a celebrity at a stadium, that could be some good reason for a fan to pay to go to the stadium. So there's that relationship between celebrities and soccer here.
Let's talk about the legends of the sport. Like, okay, I saw Joe Montana out there, saw Jerry Rice, I saw, it was really good. And then even with the AFC playoff game, Rodney, they brought their old school heroes out to fire up the crowd and everything. I really love that stuff. And then I would like to just publicly give you props on your piece you did on the late Jim Brown. We talk about sports legends that we know very, very well here in the States. Edward, I want to know, just call out a few of the legends of the game, both on the continental level and then I guess you could say locally, nationwide in Ghana.
All right, so over here in Ghana, we have Asamoah Gyan, who is Africa's top scorer at the World Cup as it stands. Great player, retired just recently. He's been at the AFCON. We also have the likes of Samuel Eto'o, who played for FC Barcelona, as well as Inter Milan at some point. He's now the FA chief in Cameroon. You also have the likes of Didier Drogba, who was a cult hero in Chelsea Football Club, made a name for himself in London. He's also gunning to be FA president in Ivory Coast. So such is their involvement that CAF is giving all these legends ambassadorial roles to play during and after the tournament, because football does not only thrive on the current players, it thrives on what the legends do in and around the game as well. So there's a plan to really use their influence, use their network, use whatever they can bring to bear on the game here in Africa. So legends are very much involved. And like I mentioned, at every game during the tournament, you'll find a legend or two there. Yeah.
Who's your favorite legend there, Rodney? You met them all too. I mean, you met.
You mean among American football players?
Yes.
Oh man, I get in trouble if I said I had a favorite. I've been blessed enough to have worked in the NFL for 24 years. So obviously there are a lot of athletes that have come through there. I think the last time I counted, I personally worked directly with, I think it's now 9 Hall of Famers.
Wow.
It's either 9 or 10, and a Hall of Fame coach. So I just had a blessed career. I put it this way. I think that just as Edward talked about, I think it's really great to tap into those legends and to make them feel like they're all still a part of the game, because they are. Most of the guys that are playing now looked up to those guys as they were coming through. And I saw, as an example, I saw a moment right before kickoff at the 49ers game yesterday. Greg, you mentioned Joe Montana, our great quarterback was there. Deebo Samuels are one of the current wide receivers on the team. I saw him make a point to run up and give Joe a hug. So again, it's that connective tissue from the past to the current that Edward spoke about in terms of how they're trying to do in the continent. We try to do here too, and I'm glad that that's happening on both sides.
The same for me. I mean, being in a radio business for, a few decades, I was asked a question the other day is like, who's the most famous person that you've met? And I was like, oh my goodness, where you want to start?
Yeah. And,
like,
and not
I
only
worked
that,
for
but
Stevie Wonder,
who do you want to offend?
Yeah.
You best just kind of stay right in the middle.
That's right.
Yeah.
So much. Man, what is what am I trying to say to you? Where is the largest football stadium in Ghana? Like, what is the palace of football in Ghana?
Okay, so that should be in Kumasi. So Kumasi is like the second largest city in Ghana after the capital city. I think I will call that the spiritual home of football in Ghana, because anytime there is a tough match that the Black Stars would need to win and have to win, that's the venue they will choose. And when they play there, they play with some kind of verve and spirit, and they win almost every match that they play there. That's not in the capital city. That's outside the capital city. But the fans in that city love the game so much so that the stadium is filled to the rafters every time there's a game. And you know what they say in football? There is the 12th man, and that 12th man is the fans. So if you have the fans on your side, you're not just 11 players, you're 12 players actually. And so if there is a match that the Black Stars have to win, the stadium in Kumasi really is where the team goes to actually do it. And it's a fortress. It's a fortress in African football. A lot of the countries know about that stadium. There have been a lot of memorable victories that our teams in Ghana have chalked in that stadium. So the stadium has a name for itself. It's one of the fortresses in Africa, and it's called the Baba Yara Sports Stadium, named after one of Baba Yara Sports Stadium. It was named after one of Ghana's foremost football administrators.
Nice.
Hey, Greg, you need to put a match in that stadium on your tour.
Very true.
Then I might come.
That's right.
Very true. Very true.
Nice. Man, Levi Stadium looks pretty nice.
So just to add, let me just put some context to it. So in 2018, in the run-up to the World Cup in Russia, Ghana had a playoff match against Egypt. Now, Egypt is a powerhouse in African football, and Ghana had to play Egypt to qualify to play in the World Cup in Russia. Now, this is what happened. Ghana took Egypt to that stadium, the Baba Yara Stadium in Kumasi, and beat Egypt by 6-1.
Wow.
By 6-1.
Wow.
And they didn't know what I hit them. We hit them for 6 in that very stadium.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's a fortress in Ghana.
Nice.
That's the Baba Yara Stadium. Yeah.
Love it.
Nice. Now let's talk about Levi Stadium here. Then I don't want to talk about SoFi a little bit, but Levi Stadium looks pretty nice there.
Yeah, Levi's Stadium is nice. I would say this again. I mentioned the players earlier, talked about the energy and the noise level at the game yesterday. I do think that, as you know, Greg, the 49ers played many games at Candlestick Park. That was kind of their stadium and their home field, and there were certain home field advantages that you had there. Levi's is developing that. The team has been there, I want to say maybe 8 to 10 years now. I don't know the exact number, to be quite honest with you. But it is, when you win big games, that helps just add to the legacy, right? So this game that just happened yesterday will start kind of adding to the kind of the storied piece that you want to have in a venue, much like Edward just described about the venue where they took on Egypt and beat them so convincingly. So Levi's is coming, but again, so many of as an example, the previous championship teams that the 49ers have, and they've won 5 Super Bowls. All 5 of those Super Bowls were won during the time that the 49ers were playing at Candlestick Park. So that's why a lot of the 49er faithful, as they call their fan base, really identify with Candlestick. But hey, again, Levi's is getting a name for itself. Keep winning games like yesterday.
Yes. We have the brand new SoFi Stadium here in LA.
I've never been there, Greg.
Inglewood, I should say.
The Inglewood, exactly. I hear it's beautiful. I haven't had a chance to get in there. I want to get in. They hosted the Super Bowl there a couple of years ago, right? They
hosted the Super Bowl the first season, yeah.
Right.
It is a fantastic facility. I mean,
what I hear
is off the chain. I have not gone to a game yet there. But I've gone for like when they have open houses and give us the tour and everything. And when you go in there, it's like Disneyland, it's very, very cool.
Oh, that's great.
And then they have in the design of it, if you notice, there's kind of these arches that swoop down on outside of them. Well, inside of one of the arches is a full-on concert venue. I think there's 12,000 seats in there. Ooh. So you can go and see your favorite band and everything. It's a great entertainment facility. Right across the street is now for basketball. The Clippers are building their stadium, and that's the Intuit Dome, and it's just fantastic. Venues are coming up, but this discussion here just leads me to talk about team ownership. You have. Kroenke is the one that is a billionaire, and he is based out of Denver, but he, built that stadium. He owns the Rams, the Los Angeles Rams. I recently learned he also owns the Arsenal over there in England.
Wow.
Yeah. And so, who are some of the big owners that you have met, Edward? Do you guys have private owners, or how does that work? Like, are the rich people in Ghana owning teams, or what's happening?
Yeah. So there's a lot of interest in soccer in Ghana because it's actually the major sport in Ghana. So there's a lot of private sector involvement in it, and it's very open. A private individual could own a team and register it as a private team, and that team would have to go through the phases, go through the divisions, and play in the top division. So it's more open. Government does not have absolute control of that space, an open space. You can register a team at the FA, put it together, have the structure, have the management, and you're in business. So there's a lot of private sector involvement in when you go to the FA. A lot of the executive committee members at the Ghana Football Association own teams, or they manage teams for other people. So that's the subculture here in Ghana. Private sector plays a lot in that space of ownership. Yeah.
Hey, Greg, if I could, I want to ask Edward, how many divisions do you guys have?
Okay, so there's the second division.
Right.
There's a second division. Then from the second division, there's a middle league.
Oh, okay.
Yes. So after the middle league is a top division.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yes. So in all, there are about 3 divisions, if memory serves. But then you have the very lower division, the cult level, academy level competitions that try and develop the talent for for these teams who play in the recognized divisions.
Got it.
What about college, collegiate? Is football? Do you have collegiate soccer over there in Ghana?
Yes, yes. So college soccer, once upon a time, was quite vibrant in the country, but over the years, it's actually waned a bit because of a lack of funding, consistent funding to really hold it. But then at that level, it's important to have collegiate football because that's where a lot of the talent is developed and identified and really moved on, so to speak. So some of the talents, for example, Samoa Jan that I mentioned, came through collegiate football back in the day. Yes, so we had what we call the academicals. Academicals was made up of players drawn from different colleges, different high schools to make a national sort of high school team, and that was quite successful. Produced a number of players, but then there was no real sustainability to it, and so that pipeline just broke off, and now there's a lot more of the academy system trying to identify and develop talents here in Ghana. Yeah.
Wow, that's really something because over here, collegiate football is ginormous, eh, Rodney?
Yeah.
Yeah, well,
I
collegiate
know.
football is, and collegiate soccer, as they say here, is too. Now, again, that is part of that pipeline that you need to have. You're developing the talent that's going to play at that highest division, at the highest level. I know that the MLS here has tried to mimic that model and have academies. And so some of the better high school players here in the state end up actually in the MLS academies. And I would imagine the same holds true in Ghana, huh, Edward?
Yeah, so the in Ghana, there's really no established pipeline, okay? Or there's no natural progression to say once you are in college, when you're done, you move on to this team to play in their academy. Why? Because most of the teams do not have academies.
Got it.
Most of the teams do not own academies. So
Gotcha.
a lot of the development is done by what we call codes football. So codes football is some kind of a community-based lower league football. Okay, that's codes football, and that's where you have boys in the community, come together, try and create a league, play, and then the scouts from these teams go to these football matches to identify talent and then bring them to their teams and try to develop them. Okay, so there's no natural progression in Ghana from high school to the top division.
Gotcha.
Okay, yeah.
Young Nathaniel is watching. He's out there in Senya, Ghana. We visited him at his school and everything, and I know he is a rabid football fan. And I can't remember the name. And there was a very famous player in Ghana that lost his life, I guess, a year or so ago. And I remember Nathaniel was very much taken aback by that. I was one of his heroes and maybe even came from his area. Do you remember this story there, Edward?
Yes. And hi, Nathaniel. Good to see you join us. So his name is Christian Achu. Yeah, he was involved in the earthquake that happened in Turkey last year. Yeah, brilliant, excellent left-footed player. Rose to the highest. Was actually voted player of the tournament for AFCON 2015 or 2017. So such was his talent. Yes, such was his talent. Very talented young man. Played in the English Premier League in England. Played for Newcastle, which is also a traditional team. was one of the very first names on the team sheet whenever the Black Stars was playing. Was an impact player when any time he played, and really he had influence on and off the field. Brilliant player, amazing human being, and we were all thrown into a state of sadness last year. May his soul rest in peace.
Absolutely.
Yes, absolutely. It's really, really something to actually see, the heroism and influence that the stars in Ghana have on the young people out there in Ghana, just like they have here, in the United States. I want to ask you also the connections from African football to what we see happening in England. The activist in me hates it, but I see it's necessary. Why is the Premier League considered so much, I guess, higher than other African football? Am I asking that correctly? Why is the Premier League so the bee's knees out here, And let me ask you, is it the same with the MLS, Rodney? Do MLS players strive to get into the Premier League? Why is the Premier League such a boss?
So the short answer is yes, but I'll let Edward go into more detail before I go in on my end.
Okay, so it's a number of factors. One of them is investment. So there's a lot of investment that goes on there. Some time ago, I think about 10 years ago, I was doing a research and I found out that football was the fourth major export out of the UK. The fourth major export. So it's football is a big deal, and club football is a big deal in that country. What they have done is to invest properly in infrastructure, invest in good wages, and invest in very good management that has enabled the league to have some integrity, to say that there's nothing fishy that goes on there. Everything is quite transparent. And what they have succeeded in doing is to really commercialize that league so much so that it's watched across every continent. And that has made it a very, very relevant football league, because it might not be the best league in the world by way of how strong the football teams are or the brand of football that the teams play, but it is the most commercial league in the world. It is the most watched league in the world because of how they have branded it, because of the level of investment, and because of the kind of coaches and players that they are able to attract into that country. Now there's something happening. Okay, there's now a lot of American ownership in the English Premier League. Okay, there's a deliberate attempt by a lot of American owners to own teams in the Premier League, and that instantly tells you that there is something that they're doing right there, and they're attracting a lot of investment. So you talk about Liverpool, you talk about Chelsea, you talk about Brighton and Hove Albion, you talk about Manchester United, you talk about, and I heard you mention the owner of Arsenal. That's Stan Kroenke. Kroenke, yeah, that's his name. Yes. So you can see that there are a lot of Americans who are trying to own stakes in English football teams just because of how it's being run, because of the level of investment, and because of how commercial that league is. I'll leave the rest to Rodney.
That's it. I mean, you hit all the points right on the head. That's exactly it. I'm going to use this opportunity, though, Greg, to use a little analogy while taking a little shot at one of a longtime rival. I would say that, and the piece about it, the English Premier League not being necessarily the best, but it is the most attractive. Just think about the Dallas Cowboys. they're not necessarily the best, but they've done a great job throughout the course of their history with branding and marketing and packaging and investment, as Edward said, so that they're an extremely attractive destination for many athletes and coaches and administrators too. But they're not necessarily the best. And yeah, that's an unveiled shot at them.
Yeah. Wow. What do you think, Rodney? What if we made a tournament here in the United States featuring African nations? You think that would fly?
I do. I really do. I think that, again, the MLS has done a great job over the years to get themselves in a position where they have some notoriety here in the States, and the players that are part of the MLS have notoriety here. The game, they've helped grow the game and interest in the sport here in the U.S. And I do think, the novelty of it all, particularly as a first year enterprise, would be really interesting. And I do think it would be well received here in the States. Absolutely.
Here on the West Coast, when we see, soccer or football, I mean, here in LA, we have two stadiums. You have the BMO Stadium with the LAFC, and they were champions. Was it last year or a year before last? And recently, I know it was a world championship.
Year before last. Yeah.
And then the Galaxy, right. So attractive. They had David Beckham was one of their,
Sure.
mainstays and everything. They have their own stadium down there in Carson, California.
Yep.
But we see mainly when we start talking about international competition, it's mainly the Latin American nations here. The what's it called? Copa Americano.
Copa America.
Yeah, that's a big deal, over here. But you don't really hear about like AFCON and some of the other things. We do see more Premier League on our network television here as of late. Why the geographical divisions? Is it just because we're regionally placed, or how do we expand the audience awareness of all of the globe of soccer games, football games, and everything? Why is it so heavily the Latin American nations that we see here on the West Coast?
Well, I'll start, and I'll let Edward, who knows more about the game than I do, tons more. I think one of it, Greg, you said, is proximity. It's just that, again, the athletes themselves, and with that proximity becomes exposure. So some of those athletes that you see that are in the MLS that may have come here from South American countries, they bring an audience with them because some of the audience has already seen them in their native countries playing. And I think a piece of that also is the fact that it's about kind of the how we can make this more of a global village, the sport itself, more of a global village, and do more outreach. There's just not a lot of coverage of the tournament that Edward's talking about, the teams that Edward's talking about. There's not a lot of coverage of that here in North America. So there needs to be probably much more of a groundswell and from the bottom up, probably in terms of interest level. And that's much more the kind of the direct-to-consumer marketing that goes on these days anyway. So it probably the use of social media to help the audience here have more awareness of not only the games, but the teams, the stars. I should say matches. Edward? I'm sorry. Let me correct myself.
Say that. The matches, yes. Let's talk about that. We'll answer the question first, Edward, and then let's talk about the terminology. Like, we say football field, but it's a pitch,
Okay. Yeah. So if I understood your question well, you're asking what the reason is for the reduced interest in the MLS.
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Basically speaking, we see more when we talk about global competition. We see more of the Copa Americas, right? We don't see AFCON or some of the other global festivals, global tournaments.
Yeah. So obviously, I think you see more of the Copa America because you're quite closer. Time zone is quite favorable. But when you bring it to Africa, time zone becomes a bit of an issue because you would need to, aside people going to the stadia, you would need to have eyeballs who would watch it on television. Now, if a match is being played at 7 p.m. in the US of A, you can imagine what time it will be in, let's say, Ghana.
Sure.
Okay, Ghana would be asleep by then. How many people would really be awake to watch that football game? It might just be a handful. So on the commercial side, on the marketing side, there's not enough figures, okay, to try to work with, because you need the eyeballs, you need the stadium attendance, you also need the number of the viewership, okay, to be able to get some more investment into the tournament. And that's why I think that AFCON is not really a big deal in the US of A. But I think that we can change that. We can change that by, one of the ways is by having the tournament you spoke about, just so that we promote African football, and then start with the Black community, get them to start to have some interest in African football. And like Rodney said, we could start using the social platforms, because we're a global village now, and really we need to make use of the digital space to try and market and promote these things. So I think that it's something that is quite bound to happen. The very soon we would have a lot of attention on the AFCON from where you are, but then there must be a deliberate plan and a deliberate effort to get that done.
I'd like to ask you, I'm very curious. I know when, so if I go, now we talk about direct to consumer. Now, let me just kind of go from the street level here. So if I go over to my favorite taco spot or a bar or restaurant to watch the NFC championships, the AFC championships, big Super Bowl parties are going on and everything, I see a lot of women cheering and knowing more about, the NFL than I do. They're wearing their jerseys, they're everything. They are really driving the culture, the popular culture in fandom, right? And so I would love to know, Edward, is it the same in Ghana? I mean, are the sisters also, participating in cheering for the Black Stars?
Yeah, so it's really something that is growing really fast. The interest of women in football is very, very fast growing. It's not at the level of the men yet, but you have a handful of women following football. Now, in terms of the fans, in Ghana, there are different supporter groups in Ghana, and these supporter groups are made up of males and females. And so when you bring all of them together in the stadium, you have a mix. So currently, if you follow the AFCON, you would see that in the stadia, there is some female representation in the stadia, drawn from supporter groups. Some come with their boyfriends, husbands, family, just to see it. Yeah. So the interest from females is growing quite rapidly, but it's not yet at the level of the male.
Is there a league, a women's league in Ghana?
Yes, there is. There is a women's league in Ghana,
Nice.
which is quite vibrant. We have the national teams as well. There's the Black Queens. We have the Black Princesses, Black Maidens, who have been competing in the World Cup and all that. So there is a strong women's league in Ghana as well.
Nice. Good.
Because women's soccer here seems way more popular than men's. Would you agree, Rodney?
It just in terms of sheer numbers, it isn't. But in terms of probably the enthusiasm. Yes. And I think a lot of
Mm-hmm.
that is, again, just the success that the women's team has had. You know, they won a lot of World Cups
Sure.
over the last years, and the men haven't broken through and become victorious. And as you know, in this country, it's everyone wants to support the winner,
The winner,
the
yes.
champion. So that has something to do with it. And the women have been wonderful. They really have been, not only in terms of representing the country on the pitch, but also off the pitch. And they have rallied around human rights issues, which you got to respect completely. So I think they stand for so much more than just their accomplishments on the pitch.
All right, you know, winding down, I have one more question for both of y'all, but I do, Edward, I know, are there any questions you'd like to ask Rodney Knox about American football that you may be curious? Because he's that guy. He's been there, done that. Yeah. Show us a ring, Rodney. Come on, you got one?
You know, I don't have them like sitting around like, hey, I'm gonna put on this one today. You know, not like that. But I'm very happy I have them. I'll put it that way.
Yeah.
Very blessed.
Yeah, good. But I think that among the three of us, there should be something that can bridge the gap between football in the diaspora, i.e., Africa, and football in the U.S. I think that we need to wrap our heads around something that we can do or produce to really bridge that gap, because both continents need that, and really I believe that it would present a lot of opportunities for young talents in Africa to also have that exposure, and also get to the United States to ply their trade and to play football or play soccer. Yeah. So I think that's what we need to be thinking about. How do we bridge that gap? What do we do to bridge that gap? Yeah. And I'm also excited that Rodney is a sports marketing executive. In my very early years, I worked with a sports consultancy firm that was into sports marketing in Ghana. Yeah. So it's an avenue that really we could also look at to try and grow the landscape in Africa and Ghana. Yeah. Yeah.
Sure.
So,
well, I love the fact that as opposed to posing a question, you're talking about maybe solutions, which is great, or opportunities that we could try to kind of put our minds together and see what we come up with. So good talking with you on this cast, Greg. Thanks for getting us together. And certainly this won't be the last of our conversations.
Absolutely. Rodney, you going to Vegas?
Not at this moment. Now,
okay,
once it gets closer, I may get the urge. But as of right now, again, I feel like this is sort of this current administration and all those folks that are working. This is their moment. This is their time. My time has come and gone. And again, it was a beautiful, great, fantastic time. But this is their moment.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, San Francisco 49ers going to the Super Bowl.
Yes.
Let's see what happens there. And thank you so much, Edward, for joining us all the way from Accra, Ghana. And thank both of you for helping us, understand these paradigms of sport. It's interesting because for me, Edward, where can we watch the AFCON? I see the highlights on YouTube, but do you know of any maybe global networks that we can try to access in order to see the games?
Yeah, so I think Sky Sports has the rights.
Okay.
Sky Sports has the rights. On the continent, we're accessing it through New World TV and DSTV. Yeah, but I think Sky Sports will be your best bet. Yeah, Sky Sports. Yeah.
I know y'all see Sky Sports on all those apps that we're downloading to operate our smart TVs now. So I see them out there. So Sky Sports is the place, y'all. And so you're calling Senegal has a chance to get it, eh?
Yeah, Senegal has the chance. They have a good blend of experience and youth. They have a coach who has been at the helm for close to a decade, knows the team well. The team understands his methods. He has a grip on that team, and in 2021 was the first title they had won in Africa. Yeah, so you can see there's some hunger, there's some appetite for more, and they're playing some very good football. They actually have a cracker coming up, I think tomorrow or later today, against Ivory Coast, the host nation. That would be one to watch. That would be a cracker. But I fancy Senegal. I fancy Senegal to go through.
All right, very good.
Yeah.
Rodney, any last words for us?
No, again, just thanks again for making it happen. As I said, I hope this isn't the last conversation. It's been really enlightening, Edward. I appreciate you and you making the time and sharing all the insight and information you just did. Appreciate you.
All right, y'all. Thank you so much for watching this, and thank you both for coming, spending your time with us there.
Cool.
All right. Yeah, Coffee Conversations with Greg J is on. Man, what an opportunity that is to have a global conversation with sports experts and sports, pundits, if you will. We're saying that, while we have the fervor of the Super Bowl going on right here in the United States, we just finished an exciting weekend of football, with the AFC championships and the NFC championships. Now we're looking forward to the Super Bowl, and we're all going to our parties, got our jerseys, all that kind of stuff. But over there in Africa, that's going on too with the AFCON of Africa Cup of Nations. That's what's going on. Thank you so much for listening. Get us on Facebook page, Coffee Conversations with Greg J. Our website, Beach City Radio, beachcityradio.com. We're going to repurpose the audio to put it out there as a podcast wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Just type in Coffee Conversations with Greg J. We're on Spotify, iHeart, Apple, Google, just all of the various major podcasting platforms. You can find the podcast right there. All right, y'all. Thank you so much. Love one another, okay? We need it. Love one another. Love one another. Peace and blessings.